Imagine you go to bed tonight for the last time in your life. Not because you're going to die, but because from tomorrow on, you will never need sleep again. No more alarms, no more groggy mornings, no more just 5 more minutes. Your body is perfectly healthy, your brain works flawlessly, and staying awake 24/7 has zero negative side effects. How would your life change? How would our entire civilization change? This is what we'll explore in this video. First, let's be clear about how big this change really is. Right now, you spend about a third of your life asleep. If you live to 90, that's roughly 30 years in bed, entire decades you never truly experience. Sleep isn't just turning off. During those hours, your brain is repairing cells, consolidating memories, and clearing out toxic waste. Your hormones reset, your immune system recalibrates, and your emotional circuits tune for the next day. In the real world, removing sleep would be a disaster. Mental breakdown, memory problems, a failing immune system. But in this scenario, humans have evolved, or been engineered, to perform all that maintenance while fully awake and functional. No drowsiness, no microsleeps, no long-term damage. So you still live a normal lifespan, just with 30 extra years of conscious time. Let's start with daily life. A typical day now: work or school, commuting, chores, a little free time, and then sleep. In a world without sleep, your day becomes 24 fully usable hours. At first, that sounds incredible. You finally have time for everything you say you never have time for. You could work, go to the gym, learn a language, cook real food, read, start a business, and still have hours left. You could spend more time with family, pursue hobbies like a pro, or travel constantly. Your energy stays stable. You never feel tired. No coffee needed. But the real question isn't what could you do? It's what would you actually do? Because the entire world is now awake. All the time. The first major change hits the economy. Right now, the global economy runs in uneven cycles. Some countries awake, some asleep. But in a sleepless world, every hour becomes a working hour. Offices, hospitals, schools, logistics, everything could run 24/7 with fully alert staff. Companies would quickly push for longer shifts or more hours. Instead of an 8-hour workday, 10 or 12 hours might become the new normal. After all, you don't need to sleep. Some countries would enforce limits, others wouldn't, creating massive differences in output. Burnout wouldn't come from fatigue anymore, but from mental overload and the loss of boundaries. Yes, global productivity would explode, but whether humans would feel happier or simply more exploited depends on how society adapts. Cities would transform. Right now, cities have a pulse, busy days, quiet nights, but without sleep, that rhythm dies. The city is always on. Restaurants never close. Public transport becomes fully 24/7. Cinemas, gyms, theme parks open around the clock. Energy use skyrockets because everything runs all the time. And the environment? It could take a serious hit. Without nighttime slowdowns, carbon emissions and resource use might surge unless energy becomes almost entirely clean. Urban planning would shift too. Work, leisure, and rest zones would blend together. But constant noise, light, and activity could overwhelm people psychologically. The whole planet becomes one giant, sleepless metropolis. Let's get more personal. One of the biggest limitations of modern life is time. You're always choosing work or family, social life or rest. Without sleep, you gain countless extra hours for the people you care about. Parents might spend twice as much time with their children. Couples could align work hours and still share half a day together. But there's a twist. Right now, nighttime forces a pause. Work emails stop, messages slow down, everyone disconnects. Without that natural boundary, life could become overwhelming. Work messages could arrive anytime. Friends expect instant replies. Social pressure never stops. People would need to create artificial quiet hours just to stay sane. Sleeplessness doesn't automatically make life meaningful. It amplifies whatever habits you already have. Ultimately, a world without sleep would be a world of profound changes, challenging us to redefine productivity, leisure, and our very humanity. Now let's talk about education and skills. Imagine a world where students don't need to sleep. Schools could offer flexible learning windows around the clock. Someone could attend classes from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. because it fits their schedule, and then spend the rest of their time working or creating. Lifelong learning becomes genuinely practical. You could complete multiple degrees, master several trades, or become expert level at a wide range of skills simply because you have decades more conscious hours to invest. Researchers, artists, engineers, doctors, and creators all gain huge blocks of focused time. Instead of deciding between family, hobbies, and career, many people could legitimately do all three at a high level. But there's also a downside. Expectations would increase. The line between normal and underachieving would move. If everyone has more time, employers, universities, and even social groups might quietly raise the bar for what counts as enough. Didn't start a business yet? Didn't learn 3 languages? Didn't publish a book, build a brand, or become a top performer in your field? What's your excuse? You've had decades of extra time. The pressure to constantly optimize and make use of every hour could lead to a different kind of stress. One not based on physical tiredness, but on comparison, guilt, and the fear of wasting your expanded life. Now consider safety, crime, and healthcare. Hospitals, emergency services, and disaster response would benefit enormously. Right now, night shifts can be dangerous because fatigue impairs judgment. In a sleepless world, emergency room doctors, pilots, truck drivers, and first responders would never be cognitively compromised by lack of sleep. Accidents caused by drowsiness, like falling asleep at the wheel, would disappear. That alone could save hundreds of thousands of lives over time. Medical research would also accelerate. Labs could operate at full capacity continuously. Clinical trials could enroll more participants, process more data, and potentially develop treatments and vaccines faster. On the other hand, crime would adapt too. If everyone is awake all the time, there is no longer a quiet night when most people are asleep and streets are empty. That could make some crimes harder to commit invisibly. But it also means there are always potential targets online, always businesses open, always movement. Cybercrime would almost certainly grow as the digital world runs 24/7 with no slow periods. Law enforcement and security teams would need to evolve to constantly monitor activity, without relying on off hours to catch a breath. What about mental health? In our real world, chronic sleep deprivation is closely linked to depression, anxiety, irritability, and impaired decision-making. But remember, in this scenario, you're not sleep deprived. You simply don't need sleep. Even so, your mind still needs variety. It needs cycles of stimulation and rest, focus and reflection. If people try to fill every hour with productivity, noise, and social interaction, they might run into a different problem: mental saturation. Not physical fatigue, but emotional and cognitive overload. Many mental health professionals might start recommending something like waking rest, periods where you deliberately unplug, no screens, no tasks, no constant input, just quiet. Walks, meditation, nature, boredom. We might discover that even if the brain doesn't need sleep as a maintenance process, it still benefits enormously from low stimulation time. You might see new habits and cultural practices emerge. Multi-hour quiet blocks, digital darkness retreats, or entire communities that choose to dim lights and reduce activity during certain hours, just to preserve a sense of rhythm. Finally, let's look at the big picture. What does this do to the human lifespan as an experience? Imagine 2 lives. The first person lives to 90 with normal sleep. About 60 of those years are spent awake. The second person also lives to 90, but never needs sleep. They get almost 90 full years of conscious experience. That's like compressing 120 years of normal life into 90. You would have enough time to pursue multiple careers, live in many countries, build and rebuild identities, start over more than once, and still not feel rushed. History would move faster because people could achieve more within a single lifetime. Scientific revolutions, cultural movements, and technological changes could accelerate, not because time itself changed, but because human attention multiplied. But with that extra time comes a deeper question. If you suddenly gained 30 more conscious years, what would you actually do with them? It's easy to say, I'd learn more, I'd travel, I'd build something great. But many of us already have some free time and still struggle with procrastination, distraction, and fear of failure. A world without sleep doesn't automatically create more meaningful lives. It just gives us more hours to decide what matters. And that maybe is the most important point. Sleep currently forces us to stop, to close our eyes and let a day end. Without it, the responsibility to pause, reflect, and choose becomes entirely ours. So what if humans never needed sleep? We'd gain time, decades of it. We'd build more, learn more, produce more. Our cities would glow around the clock. Our economies would expand. and our technology might advance faster than ever. But we'd also face new pressures: longer working hours, higher expectations, constant connectivity, and the risk of never mentally switching off. In the end, the real question isn't whether we could live without sleep. It's this: if you were given 30 extra conscious years, would you actually live them? Or just stay busy? If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss a new what if story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.